Your top stories tonight. Missing baby Siwa Piwe is found. Her mother is arrested. The distraught family of the boy trapped in a disused Boksburg mineshaft say they've accepted that he's no longer alive. This is eNews Direct Weekend Edition. Good evening, I'm Michelle Craig.
Hello and welcome, I'm William Lahong.
Just a reminder, you can track our main stories using the following hashtags: Baby Siwa Piwe and ANC Policy.
You can also comment on any of our stories by following us on Facebook and Twitter at eNews Direct, or check our content on our website, eNCA.com/direct.
1 month-old baby Siwa Piwe has been found unharmed, but the joy over her recovery has been marred by her mother's arrest. The 34-year-old woman has been arrested along with 2 others. One of the suspects is believed to be the mother's boyfriend. Authorities found the baby after they intercepted a car at Pinetown's Marion Hill toll plaza early this morning.
It was here where a 34-year-old woman reported a case of car hijacking and the abduction of her 1-month-old baby on Friday. She claims she was breastfeeding in the parking lot when she was confronted by 2 men with guns. A policeman hunt for the suspects has ended with the arrest of the infant's mother.
As the situation developed, further interviews were conducted with everyone involved, and it emerged during the further interviews that the interview of the responses of the mother were characterized by inconsistencies. And following up on such, the police were fortunately able to locate the baby in the early morning hours of this morning.
Residents of Mzinyati have been gathering here since these developments. They've been extremely concerned about baby Siwa Piwe. Her father remains inside the house and won't speak to us until he's reunited with his daughter. Some neighbors and community members say they've been angered by what happened.
I don't know if she's okay upstairs or something. Maybe she needs psychological counseling or something. For me, she's a disgrace to women.
I cannot believe she could be so cruel. The world will never trust us women, and she did that to her own baby. Imagine.
She deserves to be arrested, because some women out there, whenever they're going to get their child kidnapped, they cannot be trusted by the police officers.
Baby Siwa Piwe is being kept at a place of safety. Skushangase, Durban.
The distraught family of a boy who fell down a disused Boksburg mineshaft say they have accepted that he's no longer alive. But they want answers from Ekurhuleni authorities over a stalled rescue operation. 5-year-old Richard Tolle has been trapped for 2 weeks. His family say they want to recover his body.
It's been 2 weeks since 5-year-old Richard Tolle was trapped here. Rescue operations to find the little boy have been suspended for a week now. The city of Ekurhuleni had brought in the Defence Force to advise on how to continue with the operation. The family says the wait has been frustrating. And while they've accepted that he is no longer alive, they want his body. Tolle's mother can hardly speak, saying her spirit has been down since her son disappeared. The city of Ekurhuleni says it's still waiting for the SANDF to advise on whether the rescue operation should continue or not. Zikhona Chona, Jerusalem in Boksburg.
The ANC wants the presidency to play a bigger role in national planning. The governing party has released discussion documents ahead of its national policy conference in June. Land restitution and radical economic transformation are some of the issues covered, but the party isn't united on how to carry out many of these policy proposals.
The ANC always describes itself as a broad church to explain the wide range of ideological views harbored by its members and leaders. And these discussion documents appear to be the product of that inherent tension between competing policy preferences. So, for example, the Peace and Stability Discussion document flags what it says is the threat of foreign intelligence services working with what the paper calls negative domestic forces to undermine the country's democratic and constitutional order. Yet, not everyone agrees this is the main threat to the country's stability.
We should not blow over the top this issue of regime change things is not the principal threat. The principal threat is to resolve the socio-economic challenges that we face.
On land, party president Jacob Zuma and others want expropriation of land to be done without compensation, a position at odds with the party's current policy on the issue as well as the country's constitution. But expropriation without compensation doesn't even come up in the discussion documents, with preference given to clarifying what exactly Section 25 of the Constitution enables government to do with regard to land reform.
We need to provide greater certainty for codifying the constitutional requirement of just and equitable compensation for the acquisition of land.
If you look at the full context and read all subsets of Clause 25, you'll actually find that it's quite an enabling clause in the Constitution.
Among other prominent policy proposals is the strengthening of the presidency to be what the ANC documents call a strategic center of power in the state. That means increasing capacity in the presidency to drive national planning. Thulasizwe Semelane, Johannesburg.
NUMSA is outraged over Eskom's plans to shut down 5 power stations. The Metalworkers Union is threatening to strike over the decision, saying it wasn't consulted. Last week, the power utility announced it'll be phasing out the power stations in Mpumalanga over the next 5 years. Eskom says it needs to accommodate renewable, independent power producers. NUMSA says 6,000 jobs will be on the line if this goes ahead. The union wants to join forces with the National Union of Mine Workers to fight the job losses. A person known on social media as Obatala Ngambi faces charges of inciting violence, intimidation and hate speech after a social media post. Lead SA founder Yusuf Abramji has opened a case at the Brooklyn police station in Pretoria. Several racist and xenophobic posts have grabbed headlines in recent months, with government now even considering regulating social media.
A social media post of a gun-wielding man claiming to use the firearm to kill Indians and whites is all over the internet. It's unclear whether a person by the name of Obatala Ngambi even exists, but that's not the point. Lead SA founder Yusuf Abramji says whomever is behind that profile, which has been active since 2013, must be arrested.
We need to make sure that people like these are brought to book, and I want him to be arrested, I want him charged, and I want him to be convicted. And I think this is one case where we need to set an example so that this nonsense can come to an end.
Andy Mashaile, the former chairperson of the Community Policing Forum Board in Gauteng, says he's shocked by the post.
People who incite violence, intimidation, in fact, mass intimidation of our communities for the destruction of life, limb and property of white people, Indian people, yellow people, short people, green people are actually brought to book.
State Security Minister David Mahlobo recently told the nation social media could be regulated in the future to stop the spread of fake news. One assumes such regulation would extend to posts or fake profiles spreading hate speech. The notion caused outrage, though, with many taking to social media to protest the idea using the hashtag #HandsOffSocialMedia. Michael Apple, Pretoria.
Thousands of cyclists have been left disappointed by the cancellation of this year's Cape Town cycle tour. Many have been training for months ahead of the world's largest individually timed cycle race. Organisers called it off, saying the safety of participants is their first priority. There is a silver lining, though. Food and water meant for participants will be donated to victims of the fires that recently ripped through parts of the city.
Around 35,000 cyclists were due to participate in the world's largest individually timed cycle race. The route was first shortened due to damaged roads and threats of protest action. But Cape Town's notorious winds had the final say, forcing organisers to cancel the race. These scenes of struggling cyclists are doing the rounds on social media. Participants have been left disappointed, but say it was the right move, as conditions were extremely dangerous.
It's sad, but it's a good thing. There would have been a lot of tragedies.
People are just falling from the bike. It's a bit sad. In fact, I was looking forward to this, and I was actually hoping to even go through this terrible wind, but it's so unfortunate that they're cancelling it.
Organisers will donate food, water and other supplies to those left homeless by a fire in Hout Bay's Imizamo Yetu informal settlement. Aid can be dropped off at the Hout Bay Sports Centre and Imizamo Yetu soccer field.
Now for a look at news making headlines around the world. At least 35 people have been killed in a landslide at a massive landfill site outside the Ethiopian capital. Scores are still missing following last night's incident in Addis Ababa. Makeshift homes have been buried under waste. There are fears that the death toll may rise. Officials say about 150 people were at the site when the land shifted. German police have ended a major security operation launched over a possible terrorist attack in the southwest of the country. Officers beefed up security on public transport, believing a nightclub was the possible target. Germany has remained on high alert after a deadly attack in December. 12 people were killed when a failed asylum seeker drove a truck into a Christmas market in Berlin. And a Jordanian soldier who killed 7 Israeli schoolgirls has been released from prison 20 years after his arrest. Lawmakers lobbied for his early release after a military court found him mentally unstable at the time. Israel has not made any public comment. All right, that's it from...
Hello everybody. Very strong winds wreaked havoc with what should have been the Cape Town cycle tour this morning, and this was caused by a cold front that was moving away. It's a weak front moving up the east coast of the country, but behind it there is a high pressure system that's been ridging to the south of the country. At the same time, there's a semi-permanent trough that develops over the western interior during summertime, and between these two systems very strong winds sometimes develop, in particular around the peninsula. This is a fairly common pattern that repeats itself during the summer months. That same flow brought cooler and moist air to the south coast, where it was a mostly cloudy day along with some light rain in places. Heading into Monday for KwaZulu-Natal, it's going to be mostly cloudy for the eastern parts along with early morning light rain in the area. There is a possibility for a few thunder showers over the central and southern interior of the province. Similar conditions for parts of the Eastern Cape with light rain along parts of the coastline and further inland, but that will be taking place during the morning. For the Western Cape, it will be almost rain-free, but there could still be a few drops of drizzle around Bredasdorp first thing in the morning. Otherwise, it's going to be a sunny afternoon, especially for the western parts of this province. In the Northern Cape, high temperatures and dry conditions persist all across the area, except along the coast. Alexander Bay, cool at 22. And for the Free State, there could be a couple of thunder showers over the eastern parts, including Bethlehem, as well as Harrismith. The northwest, on the other hand, remains unchanged, partly cloudy weather and maximum temperatures in the high 20s and low 30s, while in Limpopo there is a possibility for early morning drizzle along the escarpment and in the Lowveld, but for the afternoon it should be dry across the province. Similar conditions in the forecast for Mpumalanga, a likelihood for early morning drizzle in the far eastern parts, no rain on the Highveld, where it's going to be pleasantly warm later on. And finally, into Gauteng, it will be another partly cloudy day for the province. We still don't expect any rainfall, and your temperatures climb into the high 20s. Things change as we head into Tuesday, when isolated thunder showers are likely to develop over the northern Highveld, including Mahikeng, Johannesburg and Pretoria. And by Wednesday, a cold front is going to be spreading some wet weather along the south coast, including Cape Town, George and Port Elizabeth.
Here's a recap of your top stories. Missing baby Siwa Piwe is found. Her mother is arrested. The distraught family of the boy trapped in a disused Boksburg mineshaft say they've accepted that he's no longer alive. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct Weekend team. Up next is comedy series Blackish.
Until next time, good night.